Hey there, welcome back to Guildbrook Farm. Recently we finished building our custom home that we spent about 3 years building, if you haven't been watching, and we moved in May, so about 6 months ago. We still don't have much furniture because my intent was to try and build as much of it farmhouse rustic style as I could so that it kind of matches the overall theme and color scheme of the house. And so I've been kind of doing that. I've already built a bed, I've built a couple side tables, and just some random other things. But it's November and Thanksgiving is coming up, so we need a table. We don't have a dining table yet, and this is kind of the dining space. So I was going to build something like a 6 foot by 3 foot that seats 6, 2 on each side and 1 on each end. And I was looking at the lumber that I have, and I came up with an even better idea that I think is going to work out fantastic, and it won't take nearly as much time. So let's talk more work. Let's get to it. We're going to build a dining room table as quickly as we can with just the materials we have on hand left over from the construction. All right, we got some 1x6s and some 1x10s. Got some 2x4s and some scraps. And, you know, I was going to make a tabletop out of all this, kind of joint it up, edge glue it, make a panel. Then I realized I've got 2 door slabs left that were left over from French doors that were too big, and that is the exact perfect size for a dining table. It's like 80 inches tall by 36 wide, so it's a little longer than what I was going to build, but that works great. I've got the room for it. So my idea, since this is basically 1.5 inches thick, it's perfect basically tabletop thickness, and it's got these 3 shaker style panels in it. I'm going to make inlays. So we'll stain this with this, I don't know what type of spruce pine this is, but we've got different kinds of wood that we're going to plane down and make some sort of an inlay for that, so we have a smooth surface there without those little recesses. See what we end up with. I think this will make an incredibly cool tabletop for a dining room table. All right, first thing I noticed is we've got mortise cutouts for the hinges, but the good thing is this is about 3/8 wider. This style here is 3/8 wider than the style over here, which means I can shave 3/8 off this, round it over again, and this will match that perfectly. This rail is super fat because it's supposed to go on the bottom, like where the floor is, and these are 4 1/4, 4 3/8, 4 3/8, 9 and something. I might just cut this here so that everything matches. That's about 75 inches, so 6'3". That would end up being actually really good. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll cut this part off, shave this, figure out some sort of an inlay. So here in about 10 seconds I've put together just a simple mock-up of the layout of how this will work. No drawings, just I've got some 4x4s. I'm going to make those to length, build an apron out of scrap 1x4. We'll fasten the legs. We'll make a diagonal cross piece here, cut this, do some bolting and pocket hole screwing, and so this is the top of the door, and it has a pre-drilled hole for the ball catch. When you close the door, the little ball catches into the plate. So I'm going to make just a sort of perimeter band. Okay, fast forwarding here a little bit, I've been using a bunch of these scrap cutoffs that I've saved from all the trim work and everything. Got them all cut to fit, edge jointed, and sort of mocked up insert panels here. I think it's going to work good once it's done. Obviously these are all stained different colors and everything. That's going to all get planed down to the same thickness as this door / table so that it's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to glue up these panels put them in here, glue them to the board, sand it down, and see what we end up with. So that's what we're doing now. I got about 350 pounds of weight on here, so I'm going to let it dry overnight. In the meantime, I might start working on figuring out edge band so we can cover up this hole where that latch goes. See if we can't make this a little nicer. All right, it's the next day. I've got all the weight off of my inlay here. Seems to have set up really well. And I ended up going ahead and taking a piece of cherry that was left over from making cabinets, and I made an end piece here to sort of cover up this, like where that hole was in this end grain, and I glued it up just as an experiment. Actually has turned out really well. I'm going to do another one on the other end so they kind of match. I'm not going to picture frame it. All right, so we got her clamped up, and while that piece dries, I've got some 1x4 cut here as a mock-up for the apron. Mitered the ends, kind of got the post in position. Let's not cut the length yet, but this is kind of what it's going to look like underneath. I'm going to pocket hole all of that to the surface, the whole way around. Once I get the miters set and glued, and then we're going to notch that little corner off that post so we can do a diagonal cross piece and then bolt right into that, and that should work. Right. And leave a little bit unstuck so you can peel it off, because this stuff really sticks. Now I'm making these 4 table legs from a single post that was an elevated deer stand that we tore down and replaced last year, and I saved all the posts because they're pressure treated and they are in good shape. Don't know how long this was holding that deer blind up, but I'm going to say it was at least 10 years. And the posts are still in good shape. They do have some checks and cracks and bug holes and nail holes, but that makes them nice and rustic. So I got them all sanded up. And when I built the bed, I finished the posts. I used the same type of posts for the legs. I left all the checks and cracks in there, and it turned out pretty nice. It looks like nice and rustic, but I wanted to do an experiment here and make up a slurry of sort of wood filler and fill some of these really big ones, like some of these holes, and then sand it down and see how that kind of finishes, kind of make it more of a finished rustic look. Just to see if it works. So that's what I'm going to do now. Equal parts water and glue, and I needed to empty out the dust collector bag anyway, so I got some real fine sawdust here. Total experiment, never done this before. Just put a bunch of sawdust in there. So while the legs cure, the filler, I'm going to hit this with a 1/4 inch round over bit all around the perimeter and clean up this sharp edge. All right, when I put this inlay in, I left it about a 64th proud of the surface so I can plane this flush now.
All right, I got our legs cut to 29 inches and stained, sanded. All of that slurry of wood filler I made worked out really well. Sealed off all those checks and cracks and got it stained, and now we can seal it with some poly. And I did the same to the tabletop. Got it all sanded, planed, and base coated with our stain formula, which is the same color we used for everything in the entire house, which is a mix of Minwax Espresso and Minwax Red Mahogany. It kind of brings out exactly the tone we want on pine. The espresso just by itself is a little too kind of yellowish greenish, and so the red brings out, kind of dulls that down and brings out a nice warm tone. That is the tabletop, and just as an example, this is one of our doors. That is before we discovered the addition of the red mahogany. You see how it kind of gets a little yellow? Also, when you top coat it with oil-based poly, it kind of gets a little amber as well. And so that's why we added the red mahogany. So I've let all the stained pieces set overnight to dry, which they have. And today's agenda was to set up the sprayer outside and start spraying poly. But it's raining and really humid, and I don't think the sprayer would work real well. So I'm going to brush on 2 coats of poly for a base sealing coat. Then we'll let that dry probably overnight and sand it with about 320 grit. And that gets all the little bubbles and nicks and bumps and things off. Then we can spray 3 or 4 coats of top coat over that, and you get a perfectly smooth finish. First, I'm gonna take this board and put in about 6 these little 1/2-inch tacks, and we'll use this as a standoff. Show you what I mean here. Perfect.
Definitely none of the furniture I've made thus far is light. Okay, here's the apron we glued together a while back. The miters turned out really nice. This is the one we did the reinforced strapping tape on. Gosh, that is dead on exact. And so I have the apron sitting just on top of the tabletop here, and it is clamped down with these boards because it is perfectly set, it's perfectly square. The reason I clamped it is because when you go to screw a pocket hole, screw into a pocket hole, it tends to want to move the piece in the direction of the screw. So screwing it in this way is going to try and suck it out. And it's just like a 1/16 or an 1/8 sometimes, but sometimes it's more. And we don't want that, so clamp it down. So I've got the 4 angle braces that go on the inside corners of the table, and I just rigged up a big jig here so that I can run my post through this bandsaw and get my vertical cut so we can get it as nice as possible. See if it works. One rustic farmhouse dining table made from a door. Never made a table before, but this turned out fantastic. And just in time for Thanksgiving. Except we need chairs. Perfect. Perfect, comfy spot to sit and edit this video, which you just watched. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Happy Thanksgiving. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. See you later.